Well, thanks so much for tuning in. This will be the November 2025 meeting updates. This will be the budget hearing meeting, the council briefing, and the regular council meeting. I've kind of done my best to consolidate it down so I don't repeat anything over the meetings. Again, I think it's better to do one longer video that summarizes the meetings that happen over 2 weeks rather than do an individual one for each because a lot of the things get repetitive. So hopefully this works out again, probably a little longer because there's more meetings to cover, but I think still shorter than trying to do two videos. So first meeting was held on Monday, November 10th at 5 o'clock. That was the budget hearing. We did pass the budget unanimously. Uh, I think it's a budget we can be proud of. It is conservative. I don't think we've overspent. Um, the key takeaways are we made some adjustments to the water rates. So about half of our residents will have a rate reduction. A brief explanation is if you use water in Carencro, you know that the minimum water usage is 5,000 gallons. So if you use 1 gallon or 4,999, you get charged the same amount. Really, that's not fair because about half of our customers use less than 5,000 gallons, but they're essentially having to subsidize people who use more, um, and they're not using enough. So we looked at some structures of other people. We sat down. The mayor, I really appreciate her including me. I brought this to the council last year and pushed it throughout this year, and the mayor was very willing to work with me. And so about half of our people will have a rate reduction. So if you use 4,000 gallons or less, which is most single people, elderly, single parents, those people will see a rate reduction. Now, of course, we need to bring in the same amount of total dollars because what we're trying to do is cover the expenses of the system. And so that means that people using more, which includes me and my family, will have a rate increase. We're trying to make the system more equitable amongst everyone. So we'll see how it works this year. Hopefully, we don't need much tweaking. We feel very good about it. We're covering our costs. The other thing two things that are important to know about water is that we have to account for depreciation. That's mandated by many of the grants we receive from the state. And so, even though that's not a cash dollar value that we're spending a year, we have to have that money set aside so that when things go, things break or things need upgrades, we have it. And they also require a 15% sustainability factor built into it so that we can continue to advance the system. I'll be honest, I didn't think we could get to quite 15% this year. I thought it would be too much of a rate increase. So we did not do anything there. Or we didn't make the 15%. We're somewhere in the 5 to 10% range. Also on water, as we were looking at it really seemed like the commercial customers who are using a significant amount of water really weren't paying their fair share. So there was a rate increase on commercial customers. Previously, they were paying roughly what the residential customers were, although overall, the commercial customers are sort of a bigger strain on the system per customer. So there were some adjustments there. We didn't make any adjustments to the sewer rates; those will stay the exact same. And then trash went up, I believe, about a dollar 25. That's consistent with the contract. So that's what we'll see this year. Hopefully, overall things go well. In general, the budget is good and I think conservative. We will, I believe, need to make some amendments in the first or second quarter of next year. There were just some financials that weren't finished enough or complete enough or for me to feel 100% good that those numbers will stand up as we move forward. They may be okay, but we couldn't wait for those numbers to be finalized any further. So we had to make a best estimate, or the mayor made the best estimate she could. We adopted the budget as is. I think we estimated well, and knowing that we may need to make some adjustments next year. So overall, nothing really striking other than those water rates to the budget, and we'll see how that goes going forward. Moving on to the council briefing, we heard an item briefly. I think it's inconsequential, but it's 4903 Northwest Evangeline Thruway. Someone is looking to open an RV and boat storage there. It's currently not in the city limits. I think the person is requesting would like to be in the city limits. That would likely be in our overlay district, which does not allow RV and boat storage. And so the recommendation of the council was for that person, if this is the business type they desire, to remain outside of the city limits and proceed with their business. Next thing I'll tell you about is Christmas in Carencro. Lots of great things happening. That is December the 6th, starting at 8 a.m. with a 5K. That will be hosted by one of the local gyms, and the proceeds will go to a nonprofit. The 9 to 3 is the 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. is the Country Christmas. That is held at the community center with vendors and food. My wife loves to get some Christmas shopping done there, and the kids usually get good snacks. 10 a.m. there'll be a parade from near Ace Hardware going down Veterans to the community center. That's golf carts and jeeps and small floats, nothing really big. Great parade there. 11 a.m. at the community center will be Kiwanis gift giveaway. And then 6 to 8 p.m. is the old fashioned Christmas behind and around City Hall. The Grinch and Santa will be there, and there'll be hot chocolate and music and lots of great things. If you've ever been to any of these events, they are very, very well put together. So lots of good things there. The remainder of the items we discussed will be in the regular meeting, so I'm going to skip over them and move straight into the regular meeting. The mayor did go over a lot of social events, or what I call social events that are happening. I'm going to briefly go through them, but see the social media pages for any more details that you need. Yoga is being held at 5:30 every Monday at Pelican Park. Near the Macro-D stage. That will likely be moved to the community center in inclement or cold weather. So again, stay tuned to social media. There's a mommy and me stroll from 5:30 to 7:30 around Pelican Park. That's a time when mothers can feel safe and be in a group where there's multiple people there walking. So that's 5:30 to 7:30 on Tuesdays at Pelican Park. Senior bingo continues in November. Unfortunately, it has passed. I'm recording this on Wednesday, but that has passed. But senior bingo is still happening. The council has an event this Thursday, the Council on Government meeting at the community center. City of Carencro always hosts that meeting during Thanksgiving time, and we provide a Thanksgiving meal. That is all elected officials in the parish are invited. It's a networking opportunity. It's an opportunity for us to discuss common problems and network. I really enjoy those meetings, and we take turns. We go around the parish to different municipal or governmental agencies, and they host a meal. And so this time is in Carencro. This coming Tuesday, the new sewer plant going to break ground there, so that'll be very, very good. Department heads, I'm going to kind of skip over some of the ones that had routine information. I do want to tell you there are going to be some people around Carencro who are going to have a door hanger placed on their door in the next week or two to complete a survey. This is really important. If you get one of these surveys, it means that you will be impacted by some infrastructure upgrades that we have coming, particularly sewer lift stations. We are looking to improve the sewer infrastructure in your area, and we really need those surveys completed. This will help us get the grant and the funding that we need. There's multiple options. You can go online, you can scan a QR code. If you're not into those kind of things, you can come into City Hall Annex, which is behind the fire station on University, where you pay the utility bills and you can fill it out in person. Very, very short, very easy, but very impactful in what we're trying to do to improve infrastructure for you. Moving forward to the resolutions, the first resolution we had, we tabled, it dealt with Chief David Anderson buying police cars. The reason it was tabled is not because anybody was against it, to my knowledge. We didn't have the full information. We had the main language, but we didn't have the details, the appendix that talked about what vehicles, what are the interest rates, how much, how long, those kind of things. The chief has sent that to us. It looks fine to me. I believe we're going to pass this at the next meeting. I did speak to him before the meeting. He was aware we plan to table it. This is not going to slow him down. The vehicles are ordered. This is just one of the pieces that are necessary, and this is already in the budget. The money is already funded, so the council's already kind of given the first step. This is a technicality, but I believe it was either Danielle Caprito or Taylor James who moved to table it, and I think it was the right decision. Even though we basically know what the resolution was, we want to be sure we have all those details and have reviewed them before we pass it. The next resolution was for the LGAP, which is the Local Government Assistance Program, and the Community Water Enrichment Fund. It was giving the authority to the mayor to request financial assistance. This is one of the things that we have to do every year to apply for these dollars that are available. The next resolution approve the land development code. And so this is dealing with Desire-Line, who's working on the development code and the planning things. I did get some calls about this. And so what this resolution effectively does is give them the green light to continue. There's nothing really substantial in it in terms of a change. Desire-Line gave me, and I'm looking at it now, their update on where they're at, what they've done so far, what they believe the public wants, and where they think we're going. And this is basically a vote of confidence. We did put the money in for this year for them to continue in the budget. And so the only thing that I brought up is performance land use. I've talked a lot about it. I'm a supporter of it. If you're not familiar with it, it's a little too in depth for this video, but it is how we decide what can go where. The alternative is zoning, which most or many municipalities have, where you say, okay, in this area, this is what you can do. You can have light residential, or excuse me, residential, or multifamily, or commercial, or industrial, or whatever it is. The city of Carencro doesn't have that. You can put anything you want on any property in the city of Carencro. In my opinion, it is very friendly to property rights. The caveat to it is, depending on what was there before you, depends on what buffers you need, what landscaping, how much space between the property lines you need. And so if you have those things, you can put anything anywhere. But it gives the priority to the people who are already there. So if you want to put I'm going to use something very, very extreme, a chemical plant that's open 24 hours a day in a neighborhood, in theory you could, but in reality it'll never happen because you would need massive amounts of green space between you. You would need huge fencing. It just would never really work out. And so by default, you end up getting businesses that are like each other, near each other. We call that performance land use. It is different than zoning. And so I reaffirmed my support for that, for performance land use. But I do think the code over time has been pieced together by necessity. As things have come up and things have changed, we've had to add. My goal for Desire-Line, and I think we're on the same page, is that they take the totality of what we're trying to do, combine it all together, simplify it, bring the definitions together, make it easier for both the staff in City Hall and for the public, most of all, who is having to live within this code to understand and implement. So that was my only comment. This passed unanimously, and I think Desire-Line's doing a great job. The next two things, so it's the fourth resolution and the first introductory ordinance. When we do these types of bonds, we have to usually have a resolution and an ordinance. It's very odd. We did talk somewhat about this at the council briefing as well, and so I spent a lot of time looking at the language of these next two items. And so this is basically a forgivable loan. Like everything in government, the state of Louisiana has made this overly complicated. Essentially, we have to take a bond under the name of the city of Carencro. We have to ensure that we can and will pay it back, but we never ever make a payment on it. The payments are made by Department of Health. It's a forgivable loan. It's a very confusing and unnecessarily difficult process, but this will give us million for renovation and replacement to the drinking water system. This is the next phase of getting those cast iron pipes out the ground and improving the water system overall. And so we passed these unanimously. I feel as confident as I can be that this is no cost to the city of Carencro, but I can appreciate the other council members who asked questions to ensure that this certainly will not be money that will need to be expended by Carencro. Now, I feel very confident it is. The mayor has reassured us. And so we're looking at accepting $7.1 million and continuing to improve the water system in Carencro. So that is something we should be proud of. The next ordinance I had lots of discussions about, and there was lots of discussions at the meeting. So it was it was final, it was an ordinance for final adoption for traffic calming devices. These are speed bumps or speed humps or speed tables. And lots of people in the public are very, very for them. As briefly as I can, I will tell you my position and where we're at. My position is that they're a bad idea, and I'm going to vote against this. I do think it will ultimately pass once we have some clarification on some things, but I expressed at the meeting I'm a no vote, and here's why. First, if you research the studies on these, they are mixed at best. There are certainly studies out there that show that traffic speeds are reduced. Some show a 1 to 2 mile an hour reduction, which in my opinion is equivalent to none. But some do show a 6 to 10 mile an hour reduction, which is significant. But there are studies, many of them, that say there is no change in the speed. And what happens is people drive as fast as they can in between the speed bumps because they feel that they're being slowed down. Then they slam their brakes, go over it, and speed up again. So rather than a normal speeding across a neighborhood, which is bad, you have even higher speeds in between the speed bumps. That's problem one. Problem two is most people don't consider the noise that is created, particularly in large vehicles and older vehicles that go over these. There is a lot of noise that is made from vehicles, and that is 24 hours a day. The third problem is um, the public safety danger, particularly on long streets. On shorter streets, it's not as big of a deal, but um, getting our fire, police, and ambulance to emergencies at the end of a long street, they have to go much slower. Those are big vehicles, particularly the fire trucks and ambulances. And so there's a public safety danger that we have to really consider. We also have to consider that, we may be talking about 20% of the population that is speeding. That means 80% of the population who is already doing the right thing will be negatively affected. There's more wear and tear on their vehicles. They have to go even slower than they were, and they were only going the speed limit anyway. And then we have to consider the cost. There is a significant cost to implement these and to keep them up. So, for those reasons, I'm against speed bumps. What we did last night was table this ordinance. And the main reason, my understanding from Danielle Caprito, was that she was unclear on the actual cost. What is it going to cost us on a quarter-mile street, on a 1 mile street, and those kind of things. The basic setup of this ordinance is if a neighborhood believes they have a problem, they are to contact the police department, who will perform a traffic study using some very cool technology that they have. If the chief of police believes that there is a speeding problem, he will report that to the council. The neighborhood then they will be required to obtain a 90% signature rate from the neighborhood stating that they are in favor. If those steps are met, the city will place speed bumps. There was Mr. Norman Barashek there, and he had several concerns I don't think were very, very valid. The main one was I think, I'm not speaking for him, but the 90% rate. And I would agree with him that it's difficult in this day and age to get 90% of people to agree on anything. And so he thought that was overly burdensome. Again, I just don't believe these things work, and I've listed the reasons why I think that they're a problem, and so I'm going to be a no vote. Up in the beginning of the ordinance, one of the things that it says when the ordinance is describing why we're doing it is it says that these are effective ways to slow down traffic, and for that sentence alone, I can't vote for it because I don't believe they effectively slow down traffic. So we'll see what happens next month when it comes back, and we'll go from there. The next two I've talked about pretty extensively. I'll just briefly go over them. So the first one was adjusting our ordinances for planning to to allow family compounds. So this is where if somebody wants to divide their property amongst their family, it would allow multiple family members to live on one piece of property, sharing infrastructure, essentially. It's a way for families to divide their property without having to go through all the regulatory rigmarole. This is a stopgap. I think this is something that we will fix more permanently as we move forward with Desire Line, but this was an initial step. The next one was the backflow preventers, which I've talked about extensively as well. A brief reminder, if you have a backflow preventer, this is primarily commercial customers, but there are some residential. You currently have to get those inspected yearly, and it's a major task for our staff to follow up because they're happening throughout the year and to ensure that they're done. We have to report that out to the state to stay in compliance. This would allow the city to go out, inspect them en masse, bill the customers. We think we can do it for cheaper because we're going to be bidding it out and getting a large amount done. We'll do them all at the same time. It'll just be much easier and cleaner process. Passed unanimously. The mayor came to us with this idea, and I think it's a great idea. And I really think the customers, commercial and the few residential that we have, are going to benefit from this. I think this is going to be a great thing. So that was it for ordinances. We moved on to public hearing. We had the Oak Villa subdivision preliminary plat. Oak Villas is the neighborhood on Gloria Switch. It is the next phase of that subdivision. We did hear from the developer the week before. The short version is they have, I believe, 100 and some odd houses in the plat or in the plan for this phase. Um, the markets are changing, the prices are changing very, very quickly on supplies. And so he informed us that they may only do maybe 70 of these houses, if I recall the number. With the plans to continue and finish, it doesn't change anything we're doing here. He just wanted to let us know that if they came back, that would be the reason why. It had standard language from our engineer and planning. The engineer of the development was agreeable. He's somebody who's been an engineer on many, many projects in Carecro, and he knows the process, and he was agreeable. So that did pass. There was nobody there in opposition. We next again heard from Mr. Derek Peliquin. He has the development on Moss Street Extension. You may recall, as part of all developments, we require sidewalks and ditches to be closed in. It's one way to get that process done over time. And he had plans to do that on the ditch on Moss Street Extension. The ditch on Moss Street Extension has nothing to do with the project, meaning there's no water from that project that will be emptied into that ditch. So actually, flooding and water will be improved. He had plans to close in the ditch, but what happened is after checking multiple times with LCG, he found out the water line is not where he thought. And so it would have been a major change for him to go back and adjust things. So he was simply asking us to leave the ditches as they are. That's essentially the only change. It does not change the amount of flood protection or water, and I did verify that. It's simply a cosmetic issue of not closing in the ditch. I do think it was not his fault at all. If you pass there, he's even got the culverts and things purchased. But it was beyond his control and a major change to his plan. So we did grant him that variance. We also approved the Mardi Gras parade for January 31st. The parade will roll at 11 a.m., rain or shine. The roads will close at 10. Reach out to the Carecro Mardi Gras Association for registration, and they have all the details, no major changes. We had a discussion for Sis Lane. There's 3 or 4 houses at the beginning of the road that we're going to be digging ditches. Our ordinance say that anytime we dig a ditch in a neighborhood, we have to notify the residents, which we did. There were residents present. I believe only one spoke, and they spoke in favor of the ditches getting dug. And so hopefully this fixed the problem, but if not, we'll continue down that road. We then heard from our engineers about the Shawcat development, which is the new gas station on the corner of Arsenault and University. It ended up being quite a bit of discussion that was somewhat unrelated, but if you recall, we know we have a project coming up that it actually affects this lane. We're going to need a force main sewer line that crosses in front of that gas station and turns down Arsenault Road. The cheapest time to do it is now, so that we don't have to tear up his driveways and sidewalks that he just puts in a few years when we need this. So our plan is to lay the pipe. We're not going to connect it. It's just going to be there and capped. As always in government, it seems it's very frustrating to me. The initial estimate we had was $30,000, but somebody missed something, and now the estimate is $88,000. Um, it still is a significant cost savings rather than doing it in a few years, and we know this project is coming. So we did elect to proceed. These are utility dollars that will be used to get this done. The things that it brought up between the Sis Lane discussion and this was lighting at the intersection, sidewalks in the area, particularly along Prejean. And there is a grant application in that we hope to hear back from this year that would give us some money for some sidewalks along Prejean and some increased lighting in that area. So more to come. Um, if you are interested in seeing the land development code update from Desireline, please let me know. I can get an electronic copy. I do have a paper copy if anybody would like to see this one, and I believe there are copies at City Hall as well. Thank you for making it 26 minutes, and I look forward to providing you another update in December. Happy Thanksgiving.